Welcome, everyone. This is Jeff St Laurent. This is a live Tuesday call, and we've got a special call today. As I'm always excited, but I've got a special announcement today of a new group program that I'm launching, and we've got some great people on the call, and we're going to be utilizing them as well for the people that are calling in, kind of helping them with their live sales conversations. And that's the topic of today is, what is live sales conversations and how can it help you convert more of your leads into paying clients? And I'm really excited about this today because it's something that I've been working a long time in the making ever since I launched my business, not back in 2004, but since I think about 2.5 years ago when I launched Selling Coaching, where I help coaches transition to a full-time business. Before I get into that, just a couple things. Obviously, I do record all these calls. I post them every Friday in my university on my website, sellingcoaching.com. So go to the university, check that out right there. A lot of fantastic resources for you. My mission, if you will, is to help coaches transition to a full-time business. So that's the hub of my education right on my university. Another fantastic resource is right on my homepage at sellingcoaching.com. I've got a guide there. It's called The Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. I bribe you with giving away my dog, but the real thing is what I'm giving you is a great resource to help you coaches start off. A lot of great ideas in there and some really good things you definitely want to be thinking about. Pulled in a lot of my expertise, like I said, since I've done my coaching business since 2004. Some things you definitely want to consider as you launch your coaching business. At the top of my website, sellingcoaching.com, I got an invitation to my private Facebook group. Great place for us to interact. And then I'm going to be talking today about a new program I'm offering, which is going live as of this call today, live sales conversation. So we're going to be jumping into that right now. And what I'll say with this, let me say this to start off with, is one of the biggest things of my message today in terms of launching things in your business is you've got to launch things in your business before they're ready. Right? And what I mean by that is launching before they're ready, because you don't know everything you need to know to get it out there. A lot of times you're thinking, oh, I've got to do this research and I've got to figure this out and I've got to I don't know this yet and I don't know the great title or I don't know who this is going to be for yet. And a lot of times what happens is you never launch it or it's delayed greatly in its launch. So I would say it's well over a year. I'd probably say maybe 1.5 years ago. I wanted to do like a group program, but I didn't know really what I would do for my group program. And I worked with a mentor on it. I looked at different models, et cetera. I didn't know if I wanted to do a 6-week course, and I just was having trouble deciding like where did I want to go with it. And so what I ended up doing was and some of you may have seen this, I know a couple of you have been in it as well, but I just launched, I just called it the JSL Mentoring Mastermind, Jeff St Laurent Mentoring Mastermind. And it was a small group program for any coaches. Again, it was just a small group program for coaches wanting to transition to full-time business. It didn't have a niche. It didn't have obviously I'm niched within obviously helping coaches transition to full-time, but it wasn't like a specific group going for a specific thing other than, hey, let's show up, let me help you with your business, maybe some clients that had worked with me, almost like a graduate thing where, hey, maybe they don't need me one-on-one as much anymore, but they could work in a small group. I didn't know where I was going with it, but the number one thing I did is I just got it started. And I hosted, the background was a private Facebook group, so only the members were in there. It was $99 a month, and people showed up on a Zoom call, which is like video conferencing, and whoever showed up, and I mentored them. And it was what it was. But I didn't know where it was going, and so my message with this is that I started it. I had some paying members, and I didn't know where I'd go with it. And sometimes, or how about a lot of the times in your business, sometimes it's just what you've got to do, and things will take shape if you're just patient for it, And of course, I wanted it to be bigger, but my challenge was how do I promote it, because what am I really offering, right? It's just group mentoring, right? There's nothing, any specific things to it. So from a marketing perspective, I didn't have any things in the back of my head where I was like, oh, I can really put this out there and it's going to really attract these coaches that are in my audience. So I didn't really necessarily market it aggressively or very much at all, other than to maybe some clients that stopped working with me or they finished working with me, et cetera. But I had it going. And then what happened was as I realized everyone in the group, we were at that place where they were coming to the call, bringing their sales conversations to the call, right? And I'm helping them with their sales conversations, meaning, hey, I just did an event yesterday or this weekend, and this person came up to me and asked me about my coaching, and I don't know what to say. Or here's what I said, and now here's what's happening. Or I had a complimentary session, and at the end they told me they need to think about it, and now it's 2 weeks later, and what do I do? Or what do I say? How do I follow up with them? Or they said they don't have the money. Or there's all these little situations, and I'm helping them with this, right? This is what I call live sales conversations, right? And there was one group call we had probably like a month and a half ago or whatever it was, where everyone was on the call, and we were all talking about these live sales conversations. And it was just like I got off that group meeting, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been wanting to do since I launched Selling Coaching. Meaning when I launched Selling Coaching, as you guys know, I'm passionate about selling. I'm passionate about teaching the art of selling because I really believe it's the number one skill set we need to learn as a coach who wants to have a full-time business. It's not being a great coach. I'm not saying you don't need to be, but if you don't understand the skill set of selling, you're not going to make it in this business because the reality is, I hate to say it, is you're a full-time salesperson. You're a 100% commission full-time salesperson. And some of you want to gag or puke, but that's the reality of it. And what are you selling? This is the kicker. It's not like someone else's product, right? It's yourself, right? It's a service that you are the service, right? You're providing it. And so that brings up all our personal stuff, right? And our own negative beliefs and money challenges and asking for money. I mean, that's why this business really can feel so hard at times, right? But the reality is we're going to be successful with this. We've got to be able to understand that, right? So I've been wanting to do that from the very beginning when I launched Selling Coaching. But the reality was what I found, again, with my audience, is the more I got into my audience, guess what? They weren't ready for that stuff, right? What I found out was my audience was like, they didn't know how to like start their business. They didn't have an email list. They didn't have a free offer. You know, they didn't know how to get out there. They didn't know how to market themselves, right? So I realized I'm like, wow, every client I'm getting pretty much is I'm starting from ground zero with them. Even coaches that have, quote, been in business for a while already, guess what? I'm actually helping them from ground zero, right? And so I'm like, oh, geez, I'm not really working with the selling stuff just yet. Even though, as you know, if you've been a student of mine, everything always relates back to selling, right? I mean, all phases relate back to it and understanding it, but it wasn't like the actual conversations, which is where I thrive and where I really want to be. And I found to be the most exciting and fun in my own business. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping others and coaches do that, because I know that's what's going to get them to full-time, because they can convert these leads into actual paying clients. And so I realized as I was on that group call, I'm like, this is it. This is the group program. And I got off from there, and I'm like, what's the name of it, right? And live lead follow-up, and I had a couple other ideas, and it was like, no, it's live sales conversations. And that's essentially what it is. It's live sales conversations is a group. And it's small group, big group, whatever it's going to be, but we're face-to-face on a video conferencing. And like we're going to do at the end of this call right here today, is I'm going to kind of demo this for you, and just with having some live sales conversations for those that are on the call. Like I said earlier before we started off, is I want you to bring your leads to this call right now, and I'm going to kind of help you work through them. I'm not going to tell you specifically what to say, how to respond. So I want to take the guesswork out of it for you, because I've been there and done that. I've been in so many situations that I've learned how to navigate these successfully. I don't want to teach you not only how to do it now by telling you and giving you recommendations. Obviously, go out and make it your own, but give me recommendations. So not only you can actually do it now and actually create success, meaning get paying clients, but then bigger than that is understand why I'm saying and telling you what to do, and then so that you can understand and learn how to do it yourself. Because once you learn how to do it yourself and you're successful at it, and you could talk about it like this, like I am, where I'm saying it's fun. Like that's the most fun part of my business, is navigating those sales conversations. It's the part I absolutely love the most. And I know that's why I'm successful, because I love that the most. That's the most important piece, because otherwise I'd never get to help anybody. But when you can say that, that's my goal, my why behind this is I want to help you get to the point where you call me someday, Jeff, the most exciting part of my business is these sales conversations. And maybe you don't call them the sales conversations, right? I don't think of them as, quote, sales conversations. I think of them as more as connecting conversations, and where I'm starting to understand and connect with somebody. Ultimately, hopefully, it might lead to that, but I don't have an attachment to it. But either way, that's what this is all about. So I wanted to share kind of that evolution with you, and some of the lessons along the way is, if I had waited to try and figure out, let's say, a year and a half before when I started that, the JSL Mentoring Mastermind, if I had waited a year and a half to try and figure out what exactly this was, I can guarantee you I never would have found it. Or maybe I would have found it, but even if I found it now, that's a year and a half of time that, number one, I wasn't serving clients, and number two, I wasn't earning any revenue serving clients. And I wasn't learning, not only helping them, but I wasn't learning what I needed to learn, because as you know, as coaches, right, in our business, every session we have, we learn as well. I hang up the phone after every session and be like, wow, I learned something, whether it's something about myself or even my teaching and my message. My message evolves every single client that I have. It gets better, I get sharper, I understand it even more. Even though I came into it understanding it, you understand it even more, not only from how you teach it, but from the needs of your clients as well, and how you can help and serve them better, right? But I wouldn't have had that learning, I wouldn't have had that helping, I wouldn't have had those results with those clients, and I wouldn't have had that revenue either, right? So that's the message I want to teach you around that, and then how it evolves into something special and something that you can be excited about. And I detach myself from the results in terms of where it's going to go from here. I just know that I've got something that I'm behind, and I know is something that's super valuable for my audience, because now I'm in a position where I see that and I've understood it, and I've got more and more people who are ultimately in that position, right, where they need help, understanding how do I talk to these leads, what do I say, what do I do in these conversations, and because I'm uncomfortable and I'm nervous, but I so badly want this client, right, and it's a matter of tweaking it a little bit. So with that being said, like I said, live sales conversations, I've launched that. It's officially launched today, if you will, even though we've been kind of doing it without everyone already knowing. I do have a website for that, livesalesconversations.com. If you go check that out, I know some of you might go there now, but if you check that out, livesalesconversations.com, is basically more information on the actual program. If you have questions, you can obviously contact me, or if you're ready to kind of sign up and get started on it, you sign up right from there. We have all of our group meetings on Wednesdays, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, so hopefully that works out for you if you're interested. But yeah, that's essentially where we go. Is we're going to do that right now. Is I'm going to bring the crowd in from the live call. That's why I kept them on unmute. You've been all very good and being very quiet in the background. But as I want to start to bring them in, and I want to start off in here. Number one, kind of just an open call to say, hey, what challenges do you have around these sales conversations? Because I want you to hear this, whether people listen to the recordings or not. What challenges you have? Just being as vulnerable as possible. There's no egos here. There's no like, oh, I want to pretend that this is easy or not. Like, I just want to hear, like, what do you struggle with? Because I've struggled with these things, and I know coaches struggle with this. So I want to hear that vulnerability, and then I want to get into anyone that's on the call that has some of these situations right now. I want to have some live sales conversations with you and show you how I can help you. So with that being said, I kind of open the call up and say, for anyone, like, what challenges do you have with these sales conversations?
It's Marty.
Go for it, Marty.
The most uncomfortable part of is how to navigate the conversation and then getting to the price. So when they ask the cost, and then asking the question rather than telling them how much it costs up front.
Yeah, but what do you say about the cost? Like, what's the challenge for you there?
Not telling them. Someone said that. Well, how much does it cost? And I said, well, let me ask you a different question. And then I switched it around. But that's because I learned that from you. But normally I'd be like, oh, it's this much money. It's $1,500, whatever it is, And I would just tell them, and then they would be like, oh, well, that's too much. Can't afford that.
Right, and you mean like this isn't after the complimentary session. This is like in just they're meeting you for the first time, or they're at an event or something like that, correct?
Yes. We've been in some conversation. Maybe they know what I do. They know they want to hire me. I had this recently. She knew she wanted to hire me, and she's like, well, how much do you charge? And I said, well, let me ask you something else. And then we set up the complimentary session. after that. But prior to knowing that from you, that was the discomfort, because the minute they would say, well, how much do you charge? Because that's been my business all along, doing massage and hair. How much do you charge? You tell them the price. Do you want to make an appointment? And this is different.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
different in the coaching conversation where someone asks you how much do you charge, and I really want to know what they want to get out of it before I give them any kind of price.
Absolutely.
So,
yes. So
yeah,
you've learned.
My habit is to go, oh, it's $1,500, just throw it out there. And then they get all their defense and all their reasons why they can't.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the challenge for you, which is getting better because we've been working together before you understood it well, is really when people ask you questions, if I kind of summarize it from a larger view, right? It sounds like it's when people ask you questions after an event or any interaction, when they find out that you're a coach and you do what you do, it's like, hey, how much is your coaching? Or tell me more about your coaching, or whatever questions they ask. The challenge is how do I answer those questions? Really, it sounds like that was the most uncomfortable part for you.
Well, yes. How do I answer those questions and know what they're really asking? Because they're not really asking the price.
Yeah. And so now it's having an avenue to be able to comfortably know where to go and how to navigate that, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Marty. Yeah, that's a big thing. Who else wants to share? Like, what some challenges do you have around these sales conversations?
Well, Raj here, Jeff.
Hey, Raj.
My biggest challenge is, how to get into the conversation of asking questions and keep them probing into deeper and deeper and coming up with questions. But the initial, Don Shula used to say, it starts with stops people. And that's where I kind of, you have social conversation like, hi, how are you, hello, all that stuff, and then stepping into, hey, the coming up with the questions pertaining to that environment with that person.
Gotcha. So it's how do I take these conversations that I'm having, like general, it sounds like they're just general conversations, correct? Where you're just connecting with people?
And you feel that, yes, this is the person who may be looking for, and, you resonate a little bit, but then from that 5 degrees to take into the, deeper and meaningful conversation, which is more in the line of getting into the coaching part of it, or not coaching part of it, getting into the, selling coaching, let's say.
Definitely. So it's like you're having this conversation with someone and you feel from the conversation that they might be a good client or they might be a good candidate for a client. Is that true?
That is true. Correct.
Right. And so it's like, oh, how do I get there? Is that what you're really saying?
Right.
Like so this is a great conversation. So how do I get to the point where it's like I can ask them if they'd work with me, or like how do I know if that's something that they'd be open to, or like how do I even broach that conversation?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. That's a big piece, is like how do we get to the point where, especially when people start opening up to us and they're telling me these things, and whether how much they know or a lot or nothing about what we do as a coach, in any situation, how do we get to that point where we actually translate that to, let's say, a complimentary session? Because a lot of people just end up giving out complimentary sessions, and next thing you know, it's like they're getting blown off. They don't hire them. They don't show up, things like that. So, yeah, that's a great point, Raj. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe one more person? I mean, you can have more, but I'm just curious if, before we move on to actually having some live sales conversations, because I'm going to have some good time for that. Who else, if anyone wants to share, what challenges they might have around this?
Hey, Jeff, it's Terry.
Hey, Terry, go for it.
I would say the biggest challenge is getting a potential client to see the value in my services. Like, it's more than a monetary value, getting them to understand that the fee, the monetary fee, is worth, the services are worth that, I guess, or that it's getting them to understand that it's an investment in themselves and it's going to pay off.
Definitely. So in other words, you're getting to the point where it sounds like you're getting to the money objection.
Yes.
Right, so you're working with people, but then you're getting to the end of the phase, if you will, right? You have the end of a complimentary session, or maybe not even that far, and you're kind of telling them the cost, and it's like they don't have the money. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, or they'll hem and haw, like, well, after Christmas when I have more money, or, so it's kind of that kind of thing. Yeah, the money objection, the cost objection, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, so part of the sales conversation is understanding with whatever result we're getting. So let's say I'm getting the money objection. I'm getting another objection, whether it's I need to think about it. I'd say the two most common objections in our work as coaches, not in any order, is the money objection and I need to think about it, which doesn't sound like an objection, but it essentially is. And they're both not real objections, meaning when we understand them, we realize that it doesn't really mean what they're saying. We can go into that a little bit too. This is like, I need to run it by the spouse and, time, but usually we don't get necessarily those types of objections. But yeah, so that's understanding where whatever result we're getting, at what part of the process, I'll just call it the sales process, so what part of the process could we do better at or could we do differently so that when we get to the end, we're getting the more desirable result, which is ideally them hiring us. But yeah, that's definitely a big frustration. I had that for a long time as well too, Terry. So we'll definitely help out with that. Okay, we'll jump into them now. So now, obviously, this is on you guys as well. So again, no pressure, but this is, if I can help you with this. And the reason why, the main reason why I'm so excited about this is because this work that we're doing here, when I help you with these live sales conversations, this is the stuff that directly leads to you getting a paying client. That's why I love this so much. Because Marty's on the phone right now. She'll tell you, right? She's been in my group, before I transitioned into this, and we've been doing this. But this is the stuff where, especially even after things have happened, like I've had a complimentary session, or I've already talked to this person, they've already said no, and I'm like, okay, here's what to do. Go back and say X, Y, and Z. And people have gone back, and they've gotten the clients. Like, they've gotten paid from it. So that's why I'm so excited about this, because this is stuff that it goes down to this level that I don't know anything or anybody else out there that's doing stuff like this, and it's super exciting. So who wants to start off? Who's got a conversation right now that they either want to create or they don't know how to navigate that they want help on now? So just shout your name out and we'll start.
It's Marty.
Go for it, Marty.
I know we have a call tomorrow, but I had my weekly call last week, and a woman made a comment about picking the same kind of relationships, the same kind of men over and over and over, based on my call and what we had talked about. I would like to follow up with her because I know she could be a client and I can help her. And where do I go from, because I only have her on my Facebook closed group page.
Gotcha, okay. So you did your weekly call, was it?
Yes, my weekly Wednesday wisdom call.
Okay. And she made a comment where?
After I talked about the topic, excuse me, I talked about the topic, I can't remember what it was now, but it's about our negative self-talk. And she made a comment, kind of in passing, about her broken picker and picking the same kind of men, and she's married, and how he's really a lower type energy, or he's whatever he is. There's a difference in how they are together.
Okay. Perfect. And you're like, okay, I think this person could be a potential client. How do I approach that situation? Was it a written comment like on Facebook?
No.
It was on the call.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So you did your weekly call, which, by the way, can you tell Marty's a mentor coaching client of mine? Right. I've got my Tuesday call. She's got her Wednesday call. Right. So she's got our marketing model that I help her structure. So it's always good to hear her doing that. But yeah. So someone makes a comment. Or this could be, I'll broaden this out for anybody else as well, like someone makes a comment on Facebook on something you posted or whatever, or after an event. right? So she made the comment, like, I always keep attracting the same type of men, right? Low type of energy. So you have, it sounds like you said you're Facebook friends, so you could use Messenger. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have her email?
No.
Okay, so use Facebook. Are you friends on Facebook?
No, she's in somebody added her to my closed Facebook group.
So she's in the Facebook group. Okay, so you must be friends if she's in your Facebook group.
Well, yeah.
And the reason I say that is because on Facebook, when you message somebody, if you're not friends with them, your message goes into this like weird, obscure folder that probably they'll never see. So when I message somebody, I always friend request them first, and then it depends on the urgency of the message. I'll either wait till they approve it, or I'll just send them a message after that, because once they become friends, it should show up there for them. So either way, what I would do is I would go into Messenger, friend request her if you don't, but if she's in your group, you're friends with her, and I'd message her, and I would say basically like, hey, it was great having you on my call, whatever, yesterday or whenever it was, last week. And I couldn't help but pick out, or I've been thinking about the comment you made on the call where you said, whatever she said, I keep attracting the same type of men, blah, blah, blah. And then I would say, it's been on my mind. If you don't mind me asking, tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that, or what's going on.
Okay.
That's it. So the premise here is if she's going to become your client, here's what we need to understand. We need to understand what need does she have that she's like really needing or wanting in her life, and the timing of it. Meaning, once she's got that need, why is now the right time where she does something about it, right? So through this conversation, what we're hoping to find out is, hey, you made this comment, I keep attracted to the same type of men, right? So we're trying to find out, well, what does that mean? I mean, maybe she's in another bad relationship. Maybe she just got out of another bad relationship. Maybe she doesn't want to get into a relationship because she's so scared that she's going to attract that, quote, same type of man, right? And so we want to try to find out in this now, hopefully back and forth dialogue, which, Marty, you can bring to the live sales conversations because you're in the group already. Right. You can bring that air, but now we want to start to find out, what does she say as she elaborates on that? And so we want to start to find out with this need, and I'm elaborating so people can understand why we do this and where we're going with it, is maybe she says one of those things back as, oh, I just really want to have a relationship, but I'm sick of getting the same type of things. And we want to find out more as like, where is she at with that, and how badly does she want to figure this out? And why is now the right timing? Maybe because of the holidays are here, and she's so sick of going through the holidays, either in a bad relationship or being lonely, or I'm just making stuff up, right? But who knows where she's at?
Yeah.
And then so the timing might be now because of those reasons, and that brings on a place, well, what are you doing about it? And are you open for some help? And now once those things check out, there might be an approach where we say, based on those things that we just talked about, X, Y, and Z, I'm wondering if you'd ever consider taking a closer look at how I could help you if you were to hire me as your coach. See where we can go with that? And that's all it is anytime someone makes a comment or something like that, we just send them a quick email, message them on Facebook, hey, I couldn't help you notice the comment you made, or you mentioned something this here on the phone, on my call, and then, tell me a little bit more about that, or tell me what's going on. I'd love to hear a little bit more. And that's how you start that conversation. So there's that. Let's go on. Who else?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Marty. Who else? I know, Terry, I think you had a situation, not to call you out, but if you want to bring it up now.
Kind of piggybacking on that, I know this woman is ready because she came to me and said, I'm ready. She's been stuck. She's been separated from her husband for 3 years, but for some reason, isn't able to divorce him, because he doesn't want a divorce. So that's the background. So she's definitely ready. I've built that rapport. She seems ready. So my issue is going to be like, okay, once I get on the phone tomorrow, how do I get her to see that I am the solution to her problem
Gotcha.
and
So
pay
this
for
woman,
it.
you have a complimentary session scheduled with her tomorrow, it sounds like, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then when you say she's ready, what is she ready for? Like this divorce? To actually pull the trigger, so to speak?
I think she's ready to make a decision one way or the other.
Okay.
Either she's going to stay married to this guy or not. But I mean, from everything, everyone on the outside sees that she doesn't want to marry him, but she's putting his needs above hers.
Okay.
So my question would be like, why are his desires more important than what you want in life?
Right. And I'll say this, since you've already scheduled the complimentary session,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a look at what you're going to focus on tomorrow when you talk to this person,
Mm-hmm.
and a simple strategy to help you with this before you even go into the call. So again, I don't know the details yet of like what went on to get to this place,
Mm-hmm.
but let me ask you this. If I were to have her on the phone and just in a private conversation, and I would ask her, hey, I heard you have a complimentary session tomorrow with Terry, and she, oh yes, I do. And I would ask her, hey, what is your intention with that call, or what's your motivation for that call, and what are you expecting will happen? In other words, why is she
Mm-hmm.
going there? What do you think she would say?
That she wants to move forward in her life. She's stuck. She told me she's stuck. I'm stuck.
Okay. And why is she going there? Like, what is she specifically hoping to learn or figure out or do with that call tomorrow?
She wants to come away with a decision.
Are you thinking, or has she told you this?
She kind of alluded that. I mean, she wants a decision. She wants to not feel
Gotcha.
stuck.
Okay.
So, she's been separated for 3 years.
So here's the key here. We want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that when we have a complimentary session, because rewind, 5 minutes, the first things you said is, Jeff, I need help being able to show a potential client the value of working with me so they hire me at the end, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when we have a complimentary session, we want to make sure that the reason why they're coming to this call is because the number one reason, all right, is because they're considering hiring you as their coach to help them with X, Y, and Z. And in this
Mm-hmm.
case, there's a situation that you've already explained for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the number one reason they're coming to this call is, because I'm going through X, Y, and Z, and I'm considering, I think this person, Terry, can help me, and I'm going to I want to see what she can do. I want to see what this whole coaching thing is, because if it's really good and I believe it can help me, then I would consider hiring her.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it feels as if that might not be the number one reason, or I don't even know if that's a thing that she's aware of. Is she aware that at the end, if there's value there, she can hire you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a paused yes. So I that's why I want to make sure. I'm not doubting it, right? I'm just saying that's what we want to find out. So what I would consider doing is I would email her, because the session's tomorrow, correct?
Right. I did take your I took a little thing, and I did email her with like those questions, like those
the questions that I gave you?
Questions. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your motivation for wanting this call?
Yeah.
What do you hope to achieve by the end?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever worked with a coach before? If so, how was the
Right.
experience? And then if you see value in our time together, would you consider hiring me as your coach? If
Mm-hmm.
so, why is now the right timing for coaching in your life?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you sent those to her.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant, because that's exactly what I was going to tell you to do. right? Terry just hired me like what, last week or whatever it was. So that's
Yeah.
she's using that process, right? So that's perfect. So
Yeah.
that's why I do that process.
Yeah,
So
and
smart
your
woman.
resources are great. So I did see, you said, well, like, get where they are, know where they are, right?
Okay.
So
Has she
I
gotten
was
that back to you yet?
No. I just did it like the first thing this morning because
Perfect.
I just scheduled this yesterday or like last night. So then I woke up this morning and then sent that off and say, hey, please answer this.
Okay. So that's going to be the barometer, right? That's going to give you an idea of where this person's at based on those answers.
Okay.
All right?
Super.
That's exactly what we need to know. So you've got everything lined up. So assuming hopefully she gets that back to you, that's where you want to be tomorrow is finding out, not only what can you help her with, but making sure, I would say at the beginning of the call, I would say, hey, great talking with you. I'm excited for this. And I would kind of give her the foreshadow what's going to happen in the next hour, assuming you have the hour with her, right? And I would say, hey, we've got a great chance today. Like I'm going to treat you like you've already hired me as your coach. I'd love to say that. Like I'm going to treat you like you've already hired me. And so I want to start this work today, and I want to help you with the clarity and so forth and so on. And then when we get to the end, if you see value in hiring me, then we can proceed forward. We can go over the details, get you in the book, and get you started. How does that sound?
Okay.
That's so they say, great. So now they have the expectation that, okay, we're going to work together. I'm hopefully going to get some good clarity. And at the end, I'm going to make a decision. Not only hopefully she can decide on the other pieces in her life, but she can then decide whether she wants to hire you or not. Okay? So that sets it up. And then I would look for if there's any red flags in the email that she gets back to you. Like, in other words, red flags would be like when she emails back and the question at the end I said where, if you see value in our time together, would you consider hiring me as your coach? And she, let's say she writes something like, no, now's not the right time for some coaching. I just need some help, figuring this out.
Okay.
Or something that's very lukewarm or vague or, geez, I don't know, finances are kind of tight right now and things like that. Again, that doesn't mean she won't hire you. I mean, unless she's like, I've had people hire me that said like, no, I don't know, things like that. But I would then go back and email me and say, hey, thanks for getting me the answers back. I noticed, at the last question you said that it didn't seem like the timing was right or you're not really in a position where, you want to hire me as your coach. And in this case, you already offered the comp session. So I wouldn't necessarily retract it.
Right.
Because otherwise I would want to find that out beforehand and therefore not give the comp session in the first place. But since you already gave it, I wouldn't necessarily retract it. But what I would do is I would clarify that it sounds like you're not in a position or coaching isn't something that you necessarily want to do at this time. So what I would suggest is maybe we should postpone our complimentary session to a time where you feel, or to a better time when you feel like it's better for you, where you could really benefit from my help as your coach.
Okay.
So in other words, I'm trying to like pull it away from her.
Right.
Because again, I don't want to just get on the phone and spend an hour with someone and help them. I mean, I do. I'm not trying to be an ass right now. Do you know what I'm saying? But I don't want people taking advantage of us. And a lot of times when we just offer complimentary sessions without clarifying them, and it sounds like this woman's they've done a decent job so far, right?
Yeah.
But I'm extrapolating out a little bit, so for all people listening as well, is that there's situations where if we don't qualify, there's been plenty of times where people just come like, yeah, and they help you, and they're like, hey, thanks so much, and they have no real intentions in hiring you. And so that's where we want to find that out. How does that sound?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great, and I like the idea of, it sounds like maybe you're not ready for this, and sometimes that tease, I think we talked about that at my coaches meeting, like sometimes the tease actually kind of prompts them to go, well, wait a minute, I am, so.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
And that's right, any hesitations, and you could say that, something like that. Anything else, unless it's a really big red flag type of thing, I would just you can wait till you have the actual call and kind of bring some, I know you said this, or like sometimes when I work with someone, I get those questions back and I find out, oh my God, they're already working with a coach, or they're working with maybe a mentor sometimes. And so I just bring that up because I want to find out, it's like, hey, I noticed you said you're working with a mentor already. What does that work on? And maybe I missed it ahead of time, right?
Mhm.
Because I want to find out, are we going to get to the end of this comp session and then be like, oh yeah, I really want to hire you, but I'm working with someone already, so I'm going to wait till I'm done with them. You see, like, that's why that could be a red flag. Any red flag would be something considered a potential reason or situation or circumstance that might prevent them hiring you at the end of that comp session. And ideally, if we can identify that in the conversations leading up to before we offer them a complimentary session, we find out about them and clarify them to see if it's a, quote, deal breaker or not. Meaning, oh, let's go on a date. Oh, you want kids and I don't? We want to find out as early in the relationship as possible, right?
Mhm.
We don't want to get to the proposal and be like, ooh, that's not going to work. So that's what I'm talking about there.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So what
Awesome.
if she sees the value in it and was like, oh yeah, this is amazing. I got so much clarity. And then they ask you about the packages, and then you tell them about it, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, no, I don't want to spend that money.
How about this? At the end, when you get to that space before you offer that, you should get to the place where you'll be able to feel the energy of the call. I mean, they're going to, whether they're expressive or not, you're going to still feel like, wow, they're getting a lot from this. So we've had those comp sessions where, like, wow, this is a really good one. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can feel it was just a great call, and it's not just you. It's a back and forth energy, Before you go into the pricing, you want to ask what I would say a closing question. This is a yes or no question, and it's something like, you get to the point and, okay, this is great. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do together. We can only accomplish so much right now, but how was the call today? Right? So things like that. Transition away from now the coaching part. How was it for you today? And then you can say, at this point, do you see enough value where you'd want to hear all the details and hire me as your coach? That's what I would call the closing question, some form of that. Hopefully it's at that point where the answer to that is very enthusiastic or decisive, like, yes, absolutely, this is great. And depending on how enthusiastic it is, or sometimes I'll get to the place where they're like, oh, this is great, Jeff, I want to do this. And I'm like, great, so it sounds like you want, if they say something like that, I'll say, great. So I clarify it, and I say, it sounds like you've decided that you want to hire me. Is that correct? Do you see where I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm getting their decision. Like, it sounds like you decided to hire me. At this point, if they haven't said it, at this point, have you decided on hiring me? Is this something that you're ready to do? And then at that point, say, great, let's go over the pricing structure and how it all works and get you in their schedule. How does that sound? If you do it like that, you're much more likely to move forward and have them hire you. If there's anything that, again, that's lukewarm there, like, I don't know, or, like, yeah, talk about it a little bit. Like, oh, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you said yes, but it sounded like there was a little hesitation there. It sounds like you might still have a few questions. And maybe it's just they need to know the price. They need to know how it all works. But that's why I suggest before you go into the price, you've got to ask, at this point, do you see enough value where you want to hire me as your coach? Awesome. We can wrap it up. And then, like I said, if this is something that you're interested in taking a closer look at, if it's something that you're, oh, geez, this could be really beneficial for me, you can just either message me, email me directly, or go to livesalesconversations.com and learn more about it. And even from there, if you've got further questions, you can always, there's a button on there where you can either sign up or you can set up a 15-minute call for me if you have some questions specifically around that program.